and we are live. Welcome everybody who is watching or maybe watching this later. How's it going, Mr. JB333?
Oh, it's going good. I was looking at my notes. I forgot that I could see myself over here on the side. So I don't go away when I switch windows. Good to know. All right. There he is. Indeed. All right, let me bring it back. I'm trying to get used to this dang computer. It's a whole new experience for me. So I'm used to Windows computers, and this is, it's pretty smooth once I've learned more tricks, but
it's a whole different operating system for sure.
I feel like I feel old kind of when I'm trying to learn this. I get frustrated really fast. I've been having to YouTube everything, but that's the point of the internet, is to learn.
To adapt. As you guys may know, our buddy here just got himself a new MacBook. Still learning of it. Mm-hmm. Lucky for me, I actually did Mac support call center, so they trained me to use a Mac, so I'm really good at them.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's I'll be calling you. If you tell me the did you turn it off and turn it back on story, I'm gonna freak out though.
That's one way to do it.
Turn it off, turn it back on, turn it off. Hey.
But you're gonna learn to love it.
I already love it. It is obscenely fast, honestly.
I'm on my MacBook today as well because my PC is down for you guys watching, so it may look a little different. It may sound a little different because I'm not using my actual mic. I'm using the built-in mic with these AirPods, so hopefully the audio is good.
All right, it sounds good. Hopefully they don't cut out like mine randomly do. That's why I'm using these big old bulky gamer headsets here.
Hey, whatever works. All right, so the law of one. Shall we continue with that?
Of course, sir. Of course. There's been a lot of people coming up to me this week and talking to me about, especially coworkers, talking to me about like how they like looked into went to the website and looked into the law of one stuff, and it's fascinating to them. Like, that's what I like to see, man. I like to hear people like getting more and more people talking about. The more I step out of my comfort zone, like podcast wise and all that, people are like being like, oh my goodness, that's the things to look for, is people being like, oh goodness. But yes, I brought with me my book here. This is book number 1 that I've been trying to go through and highlight slowly but surely all the different, just like people do with biblical stuff. I do with the Bible too. I highlight all the different passages. I've actually been talking quite heavily back and forth with like my mom and whatnot, and comparing and contrasting Bible quotes versus quotes from this book. It's pretty fascinating, man. Like I was trying to read through and get a couple good quotes, and one that, so like it's interesting, like the idea of Ra, because it automatically makes people think of the Egyptian god Ra, always, like without a doubt, and it automatically gets this evil context because those gods have been demonized as pagan and evil. Because why? Because that's what we get told. Like ultimately, it's all based on nonsense. Like you're just getting information that you've been handed down and not actually looking at it yourself, right?
Right.
People look at the Eye of Ra or the Eye of Horus, and it's like, oh, it's evil. It's associated with secret societies. And sometimes that's the case because they did adopt, a lot of these different things. But they actually talk about it. So I'm going to go into detail. Again, this is like question and answer type things that they do. So they're asking the person who's channeling this information, they say, like, one of the things is, can you give me a little bit more detail about your role with the Egyptians? This is when he's trying to understand, like, if this group, what this being is or whatever. And it says, I am Ra. The identity of our vibration Ra is our identity. The identity. Okay. They kind of repeat themselves a little bit. We as a group are what you would call a social memory complex, made contact with a race of your planetary kind, which you call Egyptians. Others from our density also made contact at the same time in South America and the so-called lost cities were their attempt to contribute to the law of one. That's like explaining why you have pyramids built, in the South American region that are, very similar to the pyramids in the, obviously in the Egyptian region, right?
Right.
Like, doesn't make any sense because these are said to have no contact with each other. So they said they spoke to one who heard and understood and was in a position to decree the law of one. So historians that have researched this think that is Akhenaten, because he was a great spiritual leader of the time, and then he changed the polytheistic religion of that they had to a monotheistic, and this is the what they say is what contributed to that. So he says the priests and the peoples of that era quickly distorted the message, robbing it of what we shall say the compassion, which in unity is formed by its very nature. Since it contains all, it cannot abhor any. So what the Egyptian priesthoods did is they made it to where only they, the higher level people got access to the pyramids. Pharaohs, selected priests, selectees, made me think of work. What do they call them? Initiates or whatever. And so they're saying that since the law of one is essentially applies to everyone, it includes everyone. That cannot, you cannot disclude anybody. So apparently when they were no longer able to have appropriate channels through which to enunciate the law of one, they removed ourselves from their now hypocritical position, which they had allowed themselves to be placed in. What they mean by hypocritical is that they came to try to talk to the people about philosophy and stuff like that, and then they started being worshipped as gods. And now it put them in a spot that they didn't want to be in. So apparently they're still enacting, living out karma from that too. But so the hypocritical position that they had allowed themselves to be placed in, and other myths, shall we say, other understandings having more to do with polarity and the things of your vibrational complex again took over in this particular society complex. So that's when they started essentially doing human sacrifices and stuff like that. That's what they're talking about when their stuff got distorted to a point. Like they started using, apparently, pyramids, not only in South America, but in Egypt, were used as human sacrifices at one point. Right. And it's probably due to some type of an energy thing that we don't understand. I know people think of it as like they're just primitive people who are trying to appease the sun gods or whatever, but I think it's more to it than that. If we are nothing but energy, there's probably something there that we ourselves don't understand.
Now,
I'm not saying it's right.
And Mayans do the same type of thing?
Yes. And they apparently had one deity that would tell them that that's wrong, which is like apparently their Christ-like figure that they had. I think that was Quetzalcoatl. That was, sorry if I butchered that, but he was apparently the god that like told them, all that is wrong. You guys should love each other, etc. And then they had another deity who's like, no, you need to sacrifice everybody. And when the conquistadors came, they actually believed that was one of the gods that, with the human sacrifice gods. And that's why they allowed them, access. They treated them like gods because they were like, bearded, fair-skinned men, which is what they described their gods as. Mm-hmm. Pretty fascinating. That ties more into the Anunnaki story, but I don't know.
That's interesting. Even in biblical perspectives, God is known as having the beard and the long hair and all that stuff too.
Indeed. And that's, like, where did they, I don't know. It's like crazy to me how they get this idea, this picture, because like, has anybody said to have actually seen the face of God? You know what I mean? Besides, they obviously Jesus is considered by many the face of God, right? But
right.
As far as God himself or itself, like it's supposed to be just light, I would imagine. To me, honestly, if I had a description of God, I would say it's the sun. I think the sun is a physical embodiment of consciousness and life itself. But that's pretty much what they say in this series too.
Well, also as humans, we want to humanize everything, give it a face, make it something we can compare to ourselves. So they got to give everything an image to make it more human.
Yep. That's definitely true, man. It's definitely true on that part. Like we view, a lot of these people view like Jesus as like a white dude who was fair skinned, but he's from the Middle East. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, like we get these depictions because somebody drew it. Like, were you there? That kind of a deal. But I don't know. Again, I've freaking I was actually reading an email from David Wilcock. He's actually doing live sessions again. Honestly, I thought the dude was dead, but so he's the one that pretty much, again, I was talking about it before, that inspired me to like really look into this stuff. And like, I don't know, it's definitely something that's like blown my mind every time I really look into it. And again, for a lot of people that don't know, these were channeling sessions. You can go to, I implore you to go to LNL Research, I think it's .org, or you can get to it from the lawof1.info, but all of this information is free. Anybody can go to this. I guess I could share my screen and do it, but
yeah.
Let's see, which one was it on? Share screen, easiest to do my yeah, man, I don't know about all this. I'm scared, sir. But anyway, LNL Research, which stands for Love and Light.
Share screen, and then you choose oh wait, I haven't used my Apple with this yet, so I got to go in here and update my preferences because I'm used to using my computer. So now I got
LNL. It's lnlresearch.org, which stands for Love and Light Research. And this is a group you can actually go, and they hold regular channeling sessions where you can actually sit in and watch them channel, these essentially interdimensional beings or whatever you want to believe. You know what I mean? I tend to believe that this is definitely the case. I believe that we can quite easily tune into these higher realms of consciousness. People are using psychedelics have been able to do it for a long, long time. It's literally like tuning a radio. Like if you look at radio, I mean, when radio first came out, do you know that they like literally told the person like that was like from the devil or something? Like they didn't believe it because you're literally sending signals through the air. Like, I mean, if you look at it right now, you have radio signals all around you, but you can't see them. So when that guy came up with an idea that a signal can be done through the air, they're like, oh my goodness, you're crazy. Like, but in reality, that's what's going on. It's no different when you're dealing with something like this. This is why you can sit in meditation and get these, just these crazy ideas that can essentially make you rich. You can, that's how everybody who's big inventors, all that kind of crap has gotten these ideas, and they're getting it from a higher source, whether it's your higher self or whether it's, divine angels, whatever you want to call it. And I think that that's honestly going to change from person to person, depending on how you believe. That's why there's so many different, types of, you can call them angels, whatever you want to call it. Like, I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but you know what I'm talking about. There's divine beings in every single culture in the world. And I think there's just that many in the universe. So like the group of Ra, whatever, they say that they're from the Confederation of Planets in service to the one infinite creator. So essentially they are a group, a conglomerate of, high level beings that are trying to help people raise awareness and raising consciousness. And again, that's something that gets laughed off, but again, we are on a floating rock in space circling a giant ball of fire. What to remind people of that nothing in this universe makes any freaking sense. Okay. Not a dang thing, and you're lying to yourself if you believe it does. Like,
it's like you said with the invisible waves going around. Like, if you can make every wave out there, like Wi-Fi, TV, Bluetooth, or anything, just become visible, you wouldn't be able to see anything. You'd be stuck in a fog.
Literally, dude. Like, I'm gonna read another spot that talks about the idea of the Big Bang, or the thought. That's where I get the idea of we live in a essentially, virtual reality. They call it an illusion. Let's see where we're going at. Okay. So the Confederation of Planets in service of the one infinite creator has one important statement. This is like from the very first session. This is like something they wanted them to know in case they didn't get contact again or whatever. So the statement is, my friends, as you know, all things, all of life, all of the creation is part of one original thought. I want you to remember that. One original thought. So you could call that the Big Bang. The Big Bang is a spark, a thought. So that's what it is. All of this is a single thought. And we will exercise each channel if we are able to. So they're talking about talking through each one of these different group members that are here. So let us consider for a moment thought. What is it, my friends? To take thought. Took you then thought today. Some of these words are a little off. Took you then thought today. I think it means think you then thought today. But maybe I typoed that. What thoughts did you think today? What thoughts were part of the original thought today? And how many of your thoughts did the creation abide? Was love contained, as was service freely given? You are not part of a material universe. You are part of a thought. You are dancing in a ballroom in which there is no material. You are dancing thoughts. You move your body, your mind, and your spirit in somewhat eccentric patterns, for you have not completely grasped the concept that you are part of the original thought. That's a really deep message right there.
Yeah, it is. It tells you that. How do they say it? Thought is reality, and physical is the illusion. Which I quote from one of my favorite movies. You know,
it's absolutely true. So, like, again, I call it a student of the mind because it sounds fascinating. And like part of the book that I've been reading is like How to Think and Grow Rich or whatever, talks about how to be a student of the mind. And it makes you realize that thoughts are not just like fleeting emotions. They're literally things. So in your mind space, a thought is just as real as your hand, just as real as the table in front of you. And your thoughts can actually be transmuted into reality. You can think things, put an idea, build it in this reality. That's the same thing. In your mind, it's as real as what's in front of you. So that's why, like, it's very, very important to be very, conscious of your thoughts. Because if you don't, your mind will create your reality based on, it'll just go in autopilot mode, which is why people in autopilot mode are bound by the archetypes. They're bound by the zodiac signs and stuff like that. The people out there that talk about I'm doing this because of this, that they're on autopilot. They're a NPC, if you will. So
the ego.
Yeah. Yes. Basically, if you don't become conscious that you are actually creating your reality, you are on autopilot. And that's the truth. Like, your thoughts literally create your reality. You're telling yourself, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. You're going to be that. So anytime you have these, dark thoughts, you redirect them. You say, hey, nope, I am this. But it's more to it than just that. You have to bounce, match it with emotion too. That's another thing they talk about in here is like, it's your thoughts. That's what this is. Your thoughts are literally things. You are the creator, manifested in human form. All of us are.
Yeah.
So our thoughts, you are literally a co-creator in this universe. Anything you think of, you can create in this reality. That's the thing. Like, the only limitation is you. And people laugh that off and like think about it because they're scared to admit the truth, man. Because you have to admit, thinking that we create all of this ourselves is admitting that it's your fault. But that's okay. Like, all of us are messed up. All of us fail. You know what I mean? It's important to take note of that, right? And like, once you do that, you get the power back.
That's right.
Let's see what we got here. They talk quite heavily about how like they were not able to have like appropriate channels. So apparently they'd been trying to contact many different groups, try to bring this information through. And the reason why they try to do it is because they messed up when they contacted the Egyptians and became gods. So they're trying to alleviate some of that karma. So what it means by karma is taking on, like, it's stuff that you have to work off. Like, karma is a very real thing. So like, what you do to others, ultimately you take on. So you hurting others, you're eventually you're gaining karma. You're going to have to work that off in some way. It's the same way when you hurt yourself or whatever. It's the idea of do unto others as you would have them do unto you, literally, because they are you.
And what goes around comes around. Literally.
Indeed, sir. And they say that, we repeat this as many lifetimes as you possibly can. And again, they talk about the spot. There's a spot in here. I haven't been able to find it just yet, but I've read it. That they talk about that Jesus was teaching the answer to beat the system. you follow that path, you can alleviate your karma, ultimate forgiveness. You know what I mean? Like,
So was Buddha.
yep, it's the same thing. Like, I was talking, my mom the other day, she was asking me if I like believed in Buddha. And again, that's a common misconception, is that people believe in Buddha as a god. Like,
Right.
people from the Christian religion think that Buddha is God. Buddha is not a god. He never says he's a god. He's
Nope.
an ascended master, if you will, just like Jesus was an ascended master, somebody who realized what he was, that he's the creator in human form.
He was awakened. He was a
Yes.
teacher.
Something that any one of us can do. Like, they're just giving you a different path to the creator. That's it. That's what it is. Like, ultimately you have to forego your earthly attachments. Service to others and caring about others, just because you're detaching doesn't mean you don't care about others. You're detaching from the control over that person, that it's hard to explain that, but let me get some more on here. I didn't save enough notes on this part. I need to make it a little easier to get through the windows. There's got to be. I know there's a short code for this, but
Probably.
Go back to my. So yeah, again, if you go to like the law1.info, like, it's literally a Wikipedia. You can literally go in here. You can search. What is something you can think of that you would want to know about. We can search, literally search keywords. I'm going to go to the bottom here and see what they got. So talk about, there's different categories, energy centers. So they talk quite heavily about the energy centers of the body and
the chakras.
Yeah, the chakra system, whatever you want to call it. So it's every color of the rainbow. It's very, very important, man. Like, there's not nearly enough emphasis on that over here. But they do talk quite a bit about UFOs, which is part of the thing that fascinated me a lot in the beginning. Let's see. So what they've mentioned about a lot of UFOs is that they are not all extraterrestrial. Most of them are from us, from, like they say, from the secret space program, military industrial complex. And people, again, they laugh that off, but I firmly believe it. And if you ever get into this subject, like many people will eventually, and it's really becoming mainstream as they release all these documents. There is high level government officials that have blown the whistle on this stuff. So are all of these people lying about it?
There's no way.
You know what I mean? And it's technology that we have found from crashed UFOs and reverse engineered. That's what this all is. And because that stuff is essentially, they don't want their enemies to have it, because this is advanced stuff. Like, most of the stuff a lot of the technology in these cell phones, why do you think they've come so far so fast? It's because we've been reverse engineering stuff that we found.
Like the microprocessor, I think, was reverse engineered or something. One of those components.
Yep. I think there's LED lights is yet another one. I think fiber optic cables is another one.
Yep, sure it is. It's the fastest way to transmit information.
Yep.
That we know of.
All right. So a lot of times when they get asked questions, they're like, we can't answer this because it's like a violation of the first distortion, which is the free will principle. They can't give people information that's going to they can't give you the answer to the test, because that would be a violation of your free will and they would take on karma. So they're incredibly careful whenever they're answering. It's like, dude, I don't know, man. Again, I always look at everything with a sense of skepticism. But not one time throughout this entire series do they break characters, and they're break characters. The 106 sessions that they do this in. And Carla, the person that's channeling, dude, she lost a tremendous amount of weight while they were doing this because of the toll it took on her physical body. They were doing it sometimes twice a day, these sessions, and they, had to follow strict guidelines like this. It's crazy because David Wilcott talks quite heavily about it too. He's he actually met her during this time, and she went from pleasantly plump to like 105 pounds while doing it. And
Wow. Maybe I should start channeling.
dude, like they teach you how. Like if you go to the Love and Light research thing, they have literally step-by-step guides. That's why like it's even more fascinating to me, because to me, this is truth. It's trying to actually be of service to others by sharing this information. Yes, you can buy them. Yes, you can support the stuff, but like you can get it all for free too. And like,
Yeah.
you can even go attend their sessions, dude. I had no idea you could do that.
That'd be awesome.
This whole thing is about UFOs right here. I wish I would have like got more of these quotes. So, do any of these UFOs that are currently reported come from other planets here at this time? They're talking about all the different UFO sightings in the world. So, I am one of the members. That's what they're talking. This is Raw talking. I am one of the members of the Confederation of Planets in service of the One Infinite Creator, and there are approximately 53 civilizations comprising approximately 500 planetary consciousness complexes in this confederation. The confederation contains those from your own planet who have attained dimensions beyond your third. It also contains planetary entities within your solar system and contains planetary entities from other galaxies. It is a true confederation in that all its members are not alike. It's key here. They're not alike. So that's why, again, we have different looking higher level beings all over the world. Like, you know, in India, you got got Krishna, who's blue, or I don't know if it's Krishna, but I think like the guy with many arms, I think it's Krishna.
Shoot, what is his name? I know what you're talking about, though. Yeah, he's the destroyer.
Vishnu.
I think it's Vishnu or something like that.
Oh, sorry, forgive me, my friends, if I got that. I will get it and make sure I fix it. But
interesting story. You know how I've encountered these many beings in my dream state.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually encountered him as well. In a dream, he was in his bird form, which he is known to do. And
right.
When he came closer to me, he became his regular blue skin form. I didn't actually interact with him, but I saw him.
Like, yeah. Cool. And the reason I remember now, like, this is one of the reasons why I loved this so much. It's because, like, I feel like it links all of this together. It makes it to where, like, it makes sense why we have, like, different depictions all over the world, because they're all different. And, like, we're literally dealing with, you know, multiple different types of high level deities trying to help mankind along. Right. And to me, this is literally, it links everybody, and it makes it to where, you know, we can all communicate with each other instead of all killing each other over our nonsense. Oh man.
Right.
Yeah. So they're not alike, but they're allied in service to the Law of One. So do any of them come here in spacecraft in, to say, the past 30 years? So we must state that this information is unimportant, but if you understand this, we will feel the information may be acceptably offered. The Law of One is what we are here to express. However, we will speak upon this subject. Each planetary entity which wishes to appear within your third dimensional space-time distortion requests permission to break quarantine, as you may call it, to appear to your peoples. The reason and the purpose for this appearance is understood and either accepted or rejected. So that's why, like, it's really, you know, like, the idea that you all of a sudden see something that's there is that it gives you the mind of it's supposed to, you know, if they just came here and like landed their spacecraft in your backyard, you wouldn't have any choice but to believe it. But say, you know, you see a blip and all of a sudden it wasn't there. You'd know you've seen something, but it disappeared, right? That gives you the idea, hey, I'm going to go out and seek this information. I'm going to see if anybody else seen stuff like this, which activates, you know, that's this different response. So it becomes your free will choice. And that's why, like, you don't get clear depictions. Plus, we're dealing with interdimensional craft, right?
Right. And I do believe they know when they're being watched. They have some sort of conscious detector or something. They just, even if they're like way out miles and miles away from you, they somehow know when they're being observed. And I can prove, well, I can't prove it, but I can tell you a story. This is back when I was living in Oregon, riding my bike at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to work. And off in the distance where the mountains would be, because you can't see them in the dark, was this really bright light. And it was always there in certain times in the morning. So one night, I took my binoculars out there, and right when I went to look, it just disappeared. When I took the binoculars back down, it came back. So I knew I was watching it.
Dude, I believe it. I mean, and that's the idea. Like when you observe something, it changes, right? Or doesn't even exist unless you observe it. It's I don't know. And oftentimes, I think when we look at something through different like receptacles, like it changes too. But I had a weirdly weird one happen to me today. I was you know those signs, those construction signs that they put little letters and stuff on, like that they tow behind their truck or whatever. So somebody put all the letters of the alphabet on this thing, and I was like, well, that's really weird. So I was trying to take a picture of it, and when I looked up to my camera, the letters and everything started disappearing. But when I'm looking at it with my eyes, the letters were there, and I was like, dang, near wrecked my car almost, like trying to like understand that. Like, why is my phone picking up a different image than that? And like, I don't know, it's still blowing my mind. I'm sure that there's a camera reason for it, right? But anyway,
There's
that's
no telling.
that was it. Saying that's one of many weird things that have happened to me this week, and that's what I was telling you. Like the more we start talking about stuff like this, you know, the more you become a beacon. The more you try to service others or help others to get to the light, the more of a target you become, right? Like I've had
law of attraction.
I've had some weird stuff happen to me at work, you know, like people, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Do I need a reset? Do I need to go take some time to meditate? And that's the truth. I do.
No, me too. Like, for example, even people have seen it at work with me, you know, over at Benning Airport. It could be, let's say, where people come up and give you their boarding pass. I didn't tell you the name of the position, but there could be nobody in there. You turn around and look back, and there's somebody standing there. Where did they come from?
Right. Just come out of nowhere, come out of the blue.
Like you're an NPC, you're a simulation. You just appeared.
I was actually talking with my coworker Mike about this, and like, because he's mentioned the more he gets into like religious studies, he would notice patterns at work. And I was telling him that's because when you interact with the amount of the public like we do on a daily basis, the possibility vortexes, as they're called, increase tenfold. So like if I'm thinking negatively, I'm going to get 15, 20 people in a row that are negative. So like, that's why I do not allow it at work. Like if I'm negative at all, like I need to go sit in the bathroom, cry it out for a minute or something, because like I'm going to get everyone that day. And again, this is part that we influence our reality. We create our reality. So especially when you're dealing, you know, you might not see it if you don't ever leave your house. You know what I mean? But for people who are constantly interacting with people, I see it every day. I've proven this enough to myself to know that it's true. Like whether or not anybody wants to believe it doesn't matter to me anymore.
Well, our jobs are any empath's worst nightmare.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And as an empath, it is a struggle.
It truly is. It truly is. Oh, man. This is not a touchscreen. I keep trying to do it as a touchscreen.
I wish it was. That's not.
Okay, so yeah, when I was saying that they can break quarantine and appear or disappear as the will. So the reason and purpose for this appearance is understood and either accepted or rejected. So like, again, you have the free will to accept or reject this information as you see it, but you wouldn't have the free will if they again landed in your backyard.
But what if you already accepted it, whether they're not in your backyard?
So like I've heard, like accepting it opens you up to the contact. So like you're a lot more likely to gain this contact if you wish it. And I mean, again, I don't necessarily wish it for myself, but
well, that's the thing. I hear these stories where these people are contactees their entire lives. They communicate with these beings directly. I'm like, how special do you have to be to experience that? I would love that, and yet it doesn't happen to me.
It's interesting. Like it's I don't know. I mean, because there is, 7-8 billion of us, right?
Fair enough.
So what if, like you be, the possibility goes up, but not necessarily, it happens. But then again, what if you are constantly interacting with them and you don't even realize it?
True.
what if in your dreams, your
Astrally, I do
quote
for sure.
unquote
Yeah.
quote unquote dreams, like that is where they're contacting you, because that is what it said. It starts there. Like it starts
Right.
in your dreams. A lot of your dreams are not what you think they are, especially for people who are aware of this kind of stuff. Like if you're encountering, these crazy beings or dreams, they're probably actually themselves. Um, it's like I believe that the little child that was in my dream before, this was not, I don't think this was a regular child. I think this was an interdimensional being. 100%, man. I think that the things I encountered when I was a kid were interdimensional beings trying to contact me, angels, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it's scared the crap out of me when I was younger, because like ultimately
When
there's
you're young, you
two
don't
sides of the
understand.
coin.
Yeah.
Like I was also getting contacted not just by positive things, by super negative things that would,
Oh,
like
trust me, me
freaking
too. I was drowned in my own bathtub by Freddy Krueger.
So that's why, man. I can't be drowned by Freddy Krueger. What, man?
I might have been 8 years old when I dreamed this, but what's interesting, I've said it before. While he was holding me underwater, I took control and I started breathing underwater. Then I faked like I was dead. Then he left and never came back.
See, that's fascinating, man. Being
And to this
able
day,
to,
I can breathe underwater in my dreams.
dude. I mean, again, for those that don't know, like your dreams are, you can create anything you want in your dream. You can be a god. Like I told my kids that, I'm like, dude, start practicing, start recognizing that you can wake up. I was mentioning that at work, and my friend Mike was talking about it too. He's like, I've been able to do this in the dreams. I was telling him that that's not normal. Like normal people are not able to control their dreams like that. That is actually
But what is normal though? That's the thing.
yes. So
You can't
I would
see in the
say
dreams.
normal
You can't compare them
NPC
to
people, right?
yourselves.
That's a good point.
Right.
So like that's maybe not something that's socially accepted, because you talk about this, some people are like, no, you're crazy. Of course, all the NPCs are going to be like, no, you can't do that, because
It's your subconscious. It's not real. Yeah.
right. And I completely disagree with that. I think that certain people are, because I mean, I'm a student of the mind. I have to look into everything, and I think that the NPCs of the world, it is a dramatization of your subconscious. But I think that for those of us who understand the truth, it can be anything you want. It could be contact with your loved ones from the other side. It could be all kinds of things.
Hmm. Like even last night, I had this dream that I was at some sort of a wildlife or like a zoo kind of, but the animals were roaming around freely around you. They weren't actually enclosed or anything. And there was this one little like koala bear looking thing that started climbing up my leg, and I can actually feel the grip of this thing as it's climbing up. When it gets up to my shoulder, I can feel the claws in my shoulder. I can physically feel this thing in the dream world, which isn't the first time that's happened either. The physical sensations can actually happen while you're asleep, not even using your body.
Oh crap! I done messed my thing up. Yeah, I firmly believe
Uh-oh.
that, sir. Not now, not now. No, oh no, oh! The browser has blocked your screen. Okay, I'm still here, right? Oh,
Yeah, here.
I'm gonna mess with the screen sharing thing later when I don't have a panic attack when I'm on here. Okay, my anxiety shuts me down.
I got to change my permissions too before I can do that. I can do it now, but it'll reset it and take me off. So we'll have it ready for next time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So it also talks about like there's different positive entities that are interacting with man, and there's different negative entities. And they call the negative entities, or whatever, the negative polarity, they call them the Orion group. And these are the beings that when you encounter them, they incite fear. It's lasting fear for the rest of your life, kind of fear, just like what happened.
Shadow people.
Yeah, dude. So that's, I'm always hesitant to talk about it, but like, dude, that has multiplied tenfold for me in the last week. Tenfold. Everywhere I go, I'm almost 100% certain that I seen freaking Hat Man earlier. Almost 100%. I was gonna message you like an hour and a half ago when I went to the bathroom. I was like, there is no way that I just seen that. Like,
which is,
I'm telling you, man, it's like a shadow figure, but this time it was wearing the hat. And that's usually I catch glimpses of shadow figures out of the corner of my eye. And people can laugh all they want, but dude, 100% true. And a lot of it's due to like energy in your house. Like everything in your house holds energy, especially if you've had like those things in the past in this house that's that's happened
Mhm.
before I lived here, and you haven't cleansed it, like that stuff lives. It exists. The energy doesn't go anywhere,
No, no,
and
it doesn't.
that's part of what it is.
Yeah,
And it's
get you one of
also
these, some obsidian.
I do. I wasn't wearing it earlier. That inspired me to put it back on.
Mhm.
I haven't worn it in like a few days, and it's kind of ironic now I think about it, because that is all this is multiplied in the last few days. But and things like this, I I have quite a few of these around the house that
Your green screen's kind of blocking it out.
It's
Oh, the triangle thing. Yeah, I
a
need one of
pyramid.
those.
So I love
Pyramid,
these little
right.
pyramids. Yep. I know my mom would be like, she asked me, she's like, "Oh, do you believe that like really helps?" I'm like, "Yes, I
Mhm.
really do."
Sacred
And
geometry.
absolutely, that's why I had this background too.
Mm-hmm.
It's really trippy looking. Reminds
Just
me
for
of
me, I got a thing for yin yangs, as you can tell. The yin yang on it.
I love it. That's beautiful, man.
My earring behind this thing is a yin yang. I just love yin yangs. I don't know why. I always have.
Because it's the balance, man. It's like literally the most important facet. Like we have to balance your light and your dark. Like
Mhm.
that's everything, really. Let's see. I'm trying to get to the rest of the spot. The incense is choking me out here, bro. Like, why is it blowing right in my face?
I can see the smoke. I was wondering if that's part of your.
No, it's not. It's usually I'm usually sitting in a different spot, and the smoke apparently comes right here. Yeah, so it talks about the so I'm going to talk about the Orion group because they're said to be the negative group. So I'll just ask about Orion. You mentioned Orion as a source of the context of UFOs. Can you tell me something of that context, its purpose? Consider, if you will, a simple example of attentions which are bad or good. The example is Adolf. So he's talking about Adolf Hitler. This is your vibratory sound complex. The intention is presumably to unify by choosing the distortion complex called elite from the social memory complex and then enslaving by various effects those who are seen as distortion of not elite. So basically saying, separating the elite from the non-elite. That's what this group is trying to do. There is then the concept of taking the social memory complex, thus weeded, and adding to it a distortion of thought that by the so-called Orion group is an empire. So they're trying to build like an empire. That's probably where they get the idea of the empire in the
Star Wars.
The problem facing them is they face a great deal of random energy released by the concept of separation. This causes them to be vulnerable to distortions amongst their own members are not harmonized. So ultimately, even though this group is considered bad, they come from the same source. Like they are chosen this path of separation and control and power over others. Like it's literally something you can do. You can choose to control others, or you can choose to serve others. That's what they'd be saying. And they're saying ultimately that they have quite a bit less power because there's far more people who wish to serve others, and there's far more power and love and light than there is in control and power. That's why in your dreams, I was telling my kids, like if you have a nightmare, turn and face your fear. Like you turn and love like something that's chasing you or try to hug it, it's going to snap away just like that. Like love is the most powerful force there is, like
it is. But so is fear. They're two of the same half. Like the yin yang, they're equally.
Yep.
It depends. It's hard to explain it, but they're equally balanced. But still, depending on what side you're focused on, you can change that rotation around. As a yin yang, I guess you could say.
Yes, sir. Where are we going? Here we go. Okay, so there was a portion of the material yesterday. This is like from session 8. There was a portion of the material yesterday, which I will say there's a certain amount of landing taking place. They're talking about landing of UFOs, right? The intention is to, wait a minute, certain amount of landings. Some of these landings are your peoples, and some of these are the entities known as the Orion group. So there's talking about some of them are literally our craft. My question is what do you mean that the landings are of your peoples? Your peoples have, at this time space present, the technological achievement, if you will call it that, of being able to create and fly the shape of the craft known to you as an unidentified flying objects. Unfortunately, for the social memory complex vibratory rate of your peoples, these devices are not intended for the service of mankind, but for potential destructive use. This further muddles the vibratory nexus of your social memory complex, causing a situation whereby neither of those oriented towards serving others nor towards serving itself can gain energy power, which opens the gates to intelligent infinity for the social memory complex. So this technology is said to be able to literally free mankind. And this is, it's being kept from us. This is what Nikola Tesla was working on. Like, once that happens, once we can have free energy and this kind of technology released, we as a society can stop going to work, can stop being enslaved, because we won't need to, because all of our stuff will be provided to us, because we don't have to go to work just to pay to keep our lights on. Like, that's something to think about. That is why this technology is being kept from us, because it's kept, so we can be kept enslaved. And that's the cold, hard truth about the world. And it's something that I like to talk to people about, because they have no idea. Like, I'll drill it into people's heads all day long. Like, this is not how it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to work for 97 years, then get 3 years to exaggerate.
Even then, most people can't even afford to retire these days.
I know, it's sad. Like, it really is, man. Like, if you don't have like a set thing, set job and setting money aside, what are you gonna do, man? Like, it sucks.
The day you die,
literally. And I don't know, but this is important. An important note on the sidetrack is that, like, anybody at any time can use their mind to make money. It's key. Side note, okay? You can literally create millions of dollars from an idea in your own mind. And that's literally, just every single day. Just remember that. Anything is possible. Like, little sidebar there, sorry.
Anything, like getting 1,000 subscribers. So you guys help me out with that.
It's true. I mean, we'll talk about this on the side, sir, because I can explain to you. I have ideas for all that.
Okay.
Because again, you can start reading the book with me if you want, like Think and Grow Rich. It's quite enlightening. So I talk to people, the buzz, the electrocutions you get up the back of your spine when you're getting like these spiritual ideas. I get it the entire time I've read this thing. And that's how I know. This is how I judge whether things are a good idea. This is how I know when I'm talking to somebody about something that actually means something to you. It's called the light, the light up. You can call it, some people call being filled up with the Spirit. Some people, there's all kinds of names for it. But when the tingles, I like to call it the tingles because it makes me laugh. I call it that all the time. But
that's a good word for it, though.
It truly is. That's something that that you're talking about something that's higher than yourself and something that means something. Like, I don't know. That's good. Every time I read this material, I get it too. I've definitely stuck on the UFO stuff, but telling you, man, it goes quite heavily into the UFO stuff. And it's like talking about stuff like how, I don't know. I guess you could say that they could have prepared this by looking into books, but there's just, it's too much, man. There's just no way I feel like this could be faked.
That these channelings happened decades ago, right? Was it like the 80s or something?
Yes, this was in the 80s. It was like started in 1981, I believe. Let's see. I think it says at the very beginning.
So even back in the 80s, they're referring to a technology that even as of today shouldn't exist.
Right. And we are starting to realize this stuff does exist. That's the thing. Like, if you read Nikola Tesla stuff, what do you think that, that Tesla coil and all that was? Like, these wireless chargers that we're plugging into our thing, do you think that they can't put this on a tower and do that? You're blind if you don't think that.
That's what Tesla was working on. It was creating these remote towers that would actually draw energy from the stratosphere. It would wirelessly broadcast energy to your receivers in your home, and that's where you get your power from.
Like, now they start making these like say Tesla cars that can receive energy wirelessly, then I'm gonna go out and buy one right now,
Oh
because
man.
that's a different ball game. That would create freedom, but the freedom can't be controlled. It can't be, we're not gonna buy freedom, right? Or, you know what I mean? Or whatever, you know what I mean. But
Right.
it's just another game. So all this is gonna do is force. So I'm going to go on a sidebar on this because it's important. So the idea that we're going to, by 2030, we're supposed to convert all to electric cars. What does that do to the populace? That forces everyone to buy an electric car from these companies who are the government's getting kickbacks from. You're blind if you don't see it. Yes, they're trying to help the environment, but they are also trying to help the freaking pockets. And
of course.
where do you think the resources for all this stuff comes from? Off the backs of people digging it out of the freaking ground, like destroying the natural resources to get it. And then,
So that's the resources made to create the batteries alone is way more excessive than just fossil fuels.
And again, I know there's people that get flack. I'm not saying that I agree that gas cars are the answer forever either. I'm just saying that we need the technology that's being hidden from us to be released. We don't need to rely on batteries. We need to rely on free energy. And that's stuff that gets you killed. Anybody who researches into that, anybody who makes experiments disappears. Like there's people
so many physicists who have been killed for that. Yeah.
And, people getting, suicided out of windows, jumping off buildings, right? Oh, yes, all these people mysteriously jumped out of buildings, or all these people mysteriously got cancer. Like,
or discredited, just different ways of doing it.
Yes, sir. Man, I'm about running out of time here.
I hear you. It's been a fast hour.
Yes, sir. Oh, there's next week I have, my mom-in-law is not going to be here next week. So I should be able to do a little bit longer session next week. Cause I want to do like quite an expose. Cause I think it would be pretty good to talk about like the times they mentioned Jesus, the times they meant, dude, there's so much. And I'm trying to think of how to present the information. Cause a lot of times when you read through it, you can't just read through it because like they bounce around. So it's somebody asking a question. He's like, oh, I want to know this. It's just like me when I'm ADD, squirreled. Like, but what I do like to do is I like to open up randomly and read stuff. But so they talk about the fourth density a lot. And they talk about it being the density of light, or not the density of light, but the density of love. And that's why whenever, because that's essentially our next step. Everybody's talking about love. They're like this place of boundless love. Like you don't want to leave. And it's something that I've gained one time from, this strange meditation state. And it was the most blissful feeling that I've ever gotten in my entire life. And I get it. I get why people, why they would call it that, why they would call it the, the density of love. And it's fascinating, man. That's why, like, when people try to say, there's nothing out there, we're just going to die on the ground. I feel bad for them because I know for a fact that isn't true. If anybody believes that, go out and get some dang DMT, smoke that stuff, or, or go get some LSD. You'll see it. Take enough of that. You're going to see the other side.
We got to plan us a trip out to Amazon or whatever and do that ayahuasca stuff one of these days.
Allegedly. They're listening, Ricky. Okay. No, I'm dead set on doing it like before this world collapses in
ain't got long.
Less than 10 years probably.
Ain't got long.
8 years, sir. 8 years. 7 years actually. 2030.
We gotta hurry up.
Don't ask me where I get that number, but I can tell you later. I think I've told you before.
You mentioned it, but I don't know the details.
Yeah, one of the when I finally fixed my life, I had let's just say when I got off drugs. Anyway, I had some of the most powerful dreams I've ever had in my entire life, and it was all like nuclear warfare, nuclear destruction. Like I remember walking out of a train tunnel and seeing, I believe it was like Los Angeles. Like, this is terrible. I'm not wishing this on anybody, but this is what I seen. Like it was like Los Angeles being exploded by a nuke, and I was remembered like it was like the idea, turning to a pillar of salt. Who was with me turned back and looked. They turned to a pillar of salt. Very biblical reference right there.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that was like 2000, I think 18, 17 that I had the stream, and I started researching into the end times, the war, and that's when I went down those deep, deep rabbit holes that people go when they get into conspiracy stuff, and they're talking about like 2030 is when they're expected for this pole shift. They're like we are going to experience another ice age. You're going to have to go like as far south as you can possibly go. But hey, man, it is what it is. Who knows if that's actually going to happen? But
it's happened before.
It has happened before. Again, that's the thing. That's the reason why I believe that they try to hide history like they do, is because of that. Because global warming is happening partly because of us, but global warming and climate change is also a natural part of our existence. And there's all kinds of evidence to support that. 100%. The poles have shifted. Antarctica used to be a tropical climate. All kinds of evidence to support that. How do you explain that?
Sahara Desert used to be underwater.
Right. There's like, 5 miles of ice, dude? Like, you got tropical climates down there. I don't know. Crazy. Probably lizards living in the ice. Anyway, going off on a tangent. Oh my God. Almost spilled tea all over myself.
Oops. It happens.
All right, sir. On that note, I need to jump off here so I can go to the bathroom. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm about to die.
Hey, no worries. I'll be right behind you there. Well, not like physically, but you know what I mean.
Oh God. Sir, sir, kids. No, I'm just kidding. It's been definitely good talking to you, man. It's a great show tonight.
Always is. All right. We'll continue next week. Same time, same place.
All right. Have a good day, sir. Good night,
you as well.
I should say, because it's late for you.
Yeah, 11 o'clock.
Click. All right, man. Have fun at work.
All right, see ya. Mm-hmm. All right, so that was Mr. JB333 signing off. We're going to continue next week with the Law of One series we're doing here and dive even deeper down this rabbit hole and see what comes of it. Again, thanks for watching. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe and hit that like button. Help me reach our goals. I need to get 1,000 subscribers and lots of watch time hours to get monetized by YouTube so I can do this as a career full-time, which is what I want to do. Right now we're at about 253, so I got a long ways to go. But with your help, we can do it. And leave some comments. Let us know what you think of the show. And we'll catch you on the next one.